everyone, this is Zarathura, and welcome to Planet Zoo. So, this is my first time opening this game, period. So, I guess you're gonna kind of get the view of someone starting this from the get go, because that's what's happening. So, this is what you can expect, probably, if this is the first time you're buying it. Thank you for joining us. You're just a few small steps away from experiencing the world of Planet Zoo. First, we'll create an avatar of yourself to represent your amazing creations among the Planet Zoo community. Make sure to create someone your friends will recognize. Okay.
Whoa.
Okay, so I did have some slight technical difficulties recording this the first time, so unfortunately I have played through this once. So this will make the video a little quicker as we go.
Heyo at Hematu. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. I have a habit of slipping back into the Planko language. It's good to finally meet you in person. I'm Bernard, although I insist you call me Bernie. The only person who calls me Bernard is my wife. And even then, only when I've tracked elephant dung into the carpets. As you know, I own several zoos, but I always like to show people the ropes here at my home. This is the first zoo I ever opened, and a source of great pride for me. And prides, thanks to a lion breeding program we ran in the 80s. But we're in the middle of a big renovation, and that's where you come in. Sadly, our old contractor had to retire after developing a fur allergy. Poor devil kept sneezing his dentures into the lion habitat. So, it's up to you to finish everything off. Don't worry, though. I'm not completely throwing you in at the deep end. My head keeper, Nancy Jones, will be lending a helping hand. Oh, she's a hard worker, and she'll expect you to be too. But I'm sure you'll get along like a house on fire, or even better, one that isn't on fire. Less shouting that way.
Hello there. From that rosy, fresh face of yours, I'm guessing you're Bernie's new hire. Good. Now, I hope you're ready to ditch your diploma because we're about to get really hands-on. But before we begin the real work, how about we familiarize you with the zoo by learning how to fly around it and visiting some of our beautiful animals? We'll start by popping over and having a look-see at the grizzly bears in their habitat.
Okay, so it's WASD to move around like this, but if you want to rotate the camera, hold down the middle mouse button, the wheel, in order to rotate around, and use the mouse wheel to zoom in and
Did
out.
you know that grizzly bears, also known as Ursus arctos horribilis, can hibernate for up to 7 months a year? Oh, but then again, given the chance, I think a lot of people would do that too. Select one of the bears and you'll bring up its information panel. This is where you can find out all kinds of information about your animal. The most important thing being its overall welfare. You'll learn more about animal welfare today as we go through your objectives. But for now, let's enjoy this magnificent animal. Why don't you select the camera at the bottom of its information panel?
Okay, so in order to follow the tutorial, you look for this light bulb in the pinkish box. That'll guide you through the tutorial. Again,
See now, this is a fantastic way to get a close look at your animals. You can also get this view of an animal by simply double-clicking on it. Okay, when you're ready, let's pop over to the other side of the zoo and take a look at the lions. I've marked their location for you to find.
okay, so close it and get out of here. And she's got another zone highlighted.
Panthera leo, or the West African lion to you and me. Lions are the most social of the big cats, and there can be as many as 40 lions in a pride, although prides of that size are pretty rare. As Bernie would say, those lions are awesome, which is precisely why I handle the training instead these days. Anyway, how about we get started on those objectives? Come on, let's head over to an empty habitat and see what needs doing there.
Okay.
As you can see, it's a lovely space for animals, but it's missing a certain something. Well, two somethings. Warthogs. So I'd like you to adopt a pair of them. To adopt animals, we need to open the animal market, which is in the animal trading section.
Okay, again, follow the light bulb. Animal trading.
There we are, a pair of perfectly splendid warthogs for our zoo. Just click on them and select Adopt from the side menu. Normally, the animal exchange would be full of animals, but I've emptied out the market while you learn how it works. The last thing I need is you accidentally ordering a dozen elephants. When you adopt an animal, it's automatically placed in the trade centre, where they're held until you're ready to move them into their habitat, which, as it happens, you are. So how about you move them into their new home?
Again, animal trading. Then you hit the storage button. And send to zoo. And it opens again for you automatically. Send to zoo.
When you ask for an animal to be moved into a habitat, your caretakers will go to the trade centre, collect your animal, and deliver them to your selected habitat. I've marked the trade centre's location, so let's go and watch the caretakers in action. Well, as you can see, those caretakers don't hang about. They'll move those animals to their destination as fast as possible. Of course, normally we'd have to place the animals into quarantine before moving them into a habitat, but I am assured by a person of good standing that these warthogs are in the very rudest of health. Right, let's get the warthog's habitat finished up so we can keep them nice and happy. You see, each animal in the zoo has an overall welfare statistic, basically how happy they are. And that overall welfare statistic is itself comprised of 4 different areas: nutrition, social health, habitat, and enrichment. Luckily, if you select an animal, you'll bring up their animal welfare information panel, which we saw earlier, where you can see how they're doing. That way, you'll know exactly what areas need to be addressed. Don't worry if that's a lot to remember. You can always check the Zoopedia for more information. Let's start by making sure we're taking care of the warthog's nutrition welfare. To do this, we'll need to place a food station and a drinking station. Now, each animal requires a different type of feeding station. And for the warthogs, it's a small feeding trough. So let's add one of those and a water bowl. Animals also require stimulation to keep them happy. Let's add a lovely mud bath for the warthogs to roll around in. That bath will count towards their enrichment welfare, specifically their toy enrichment welfare. Oh, nice work. You've got a knack for this, I see. Now, our contractor had to leave in a hurry, so this place is in a fair old state. Unfinished thingamajigs and whatsits all over the shop. But the first thing we need to finish is the ostrich habitat. It's over near the hippos.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, before we actually start building our ostrich habitat, let's pause the game. Just click the pause button in the bottom right corner. Ah, that's more like it. A quick break. Sometimes it's a good idea to pause the game whilst you're doing something which requires your concentration, because it'll stop the zoo spinning out of control while you're looking the other way. Let's keep the game paused while we get this ostrich habitat built. Okay. Job number 1 here is to add a habitat gate before we complete the barrier. Every habitat needs a habitat gate. After all, how else would the keepers get in and out? Just make sure it's hooked up to the path so the keepers can reach it.
barrier, gate. So you just want to make sure that it turns blue. This purple is not good. There we go.
Right. Let's complete the perimeter barrier so we can adopt us some ostriches. I've marked out an area for you to use, so I'd like you to finish off the perimeter using the brick barrier. Good work. Remember, before you can place animals in any habitat, it has to have a full loop of connected barrier. Now, you've probably noticed that guests can't actually see into this habitat at the moment. At least not without a stepladder. But seeing as they're banned, I'd like you to select a piece of barrier and swap out the brick for a glass barrier, so the guests can see in. There we go. Adding in more windows gives guests even more opportunities to see the animals in a habitat. It's always best to make sure the guests can get a good view into a habitat from the path they're walking on, because it makes them happy, and because this would be a pretty terrible zoo if they couldn't. The last thing we need to do is to add a donation box. You see, when guests enjoy the view of an animal, they'll make a donation. Just make sure you put them in easy-to-reach places, like near a viewing point. Donation boxes are one of the main sources of income for the zoo, so make sure you remember them. Now, before we adopt our ostriches, you should click the play button. After all, if the game's paused, then so are our caretakers, which will make it a bit tricky for them to deliver the ostriches, eh? By the way, as well as pausing the game, you can speed the game up by clicking on the fast forward button. It'll run everything at 2 times and 5 times faster. It can be useful, especially if you're waiting for money to accumulate or for animals to be delivered to your habitat. Personally, I use it when I'm waiting for a brew to finish. All right, you've finished the habitat, so it's high time we adopted those ostriches, don't you think? Let's get 4 of them in here.
Okay, so we're going to do something a little different this time. We're going to hit adopt, and we're going to hit send to zoo. And we're going to do the same thing. It just stops you from going back to that same menu twice.
While we wait for them to be collected by the caretakers and brought to the habitat, you should get it ready for them. Add a suitable feeding station, water station, and an appropriate food enrichment item. It's often best to place things like enrichments and feeding stations near to the habitat perimeter, so guests can get a really good view of the animals.
Okay, so habitat, food bowl. Let's put it there. We need a water trough, which if you hold down Z and just move your mouse a little bit, it'll move for you. So I'm going to put it along this wall. And if you right click it, just deselects the item, and we're going to put the food tray over here.
Oh, good to see the ostriches have somewhere they can really stretch their legs. Did you know they can actually run at 43 miles per hour? Oh, heaven forbid they ever escape. The speed camera fines alone would bankrupt us.
Well, Bernie certainly seems impressed. Did you do his speed camera joke? Every time we get an ostrich. So, now we've made the ostriches' lives a bit better, let's do the same for the keepers, shall we? To make it easier for the keepers to feed the ostriches and hippos, we should build a new keeper hut. Keeper huts are where the keepers prepare the food for animals, so they should be placed near to the habitats to make sure the keepers don't waste their time walking when they should be looking after the animals.
No, this one's staff facility. And
you'll need to rotate the keeper hut to get it to connect up to the path.
Again, hold down Z.
This keeper hut only has space for one keeper, but the larger keeper hut can allow multiple keepers to prepare food at the same time. Oh,
Alrighty.
but bear in mind that keeper huts and other staff facilities shouldn't be placed near to areas where there are lots of guests. Guests don't like seeing facility buildings, and it can affect their
Yeah,
happiness. Negatively,
come on.
in case that wasn't clear. Something that all facilities, shops, and a whole host of other objects need is power. And that
Yep.
obviously includes your newly built keeper hut. So let's place a transformer next to it, shall we?
Okay, it's under facilities, transformer.
Now, the reason everything has gone blue is because you're using the power heat map. This map
Again, you
allows
can
you to see
rotate
what
it.
is and what isn't powered in your
Don't think
zoo.
there's a
So
front.
once you've placed your
Maybe
transformer,
there
you
is.
can click in the bottom left to
There's a
turn
little
the heat
sign
map
there.
off.
Oh, yeah. So there's a path thing. So as long as there's a path connecting to, well, the path, you're fine.
Lovely work. Now the keepers can start using the hut to prepare food, and thanks to where you've put it, they won't need to walk very far to deliver it to the ostriches and hippos. Let's get on to your next objective then. Bengal tigers. We want to adopt some, but I'm afraid there's nothing ready for them yet.
Yep, right here.
Head on over to the plot of land I've marked out. It's not too far away.
Okay.
Righty, your next job is to build a habitat from scratch. And concrete and glass, I expect. So go ahead and build it. Just make sure that the habitat includes that big hole we've dug. Oh, and don't forget to add a habitat gate to the barrier.
Okay. One moment.
Oh, and make sure the guests will be able to see the tigers.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to barriers. And we'll just start by placing it within this little area here. And I'm going to go along these rocks because I don't believe any guests can be over on this side, and it doesn't look like the tigers are supposed to go up there. Alright, now we're going to start switching between glass. I don't know if the tigers will like this because there'll be too much people watching. But that might be explained a little bit later as well. And glass. And I need to make sure there's enough room for... Well, I think we're going to do 3 glass here. And we'll just finish it off with brick. Okay, what else did she want me to do? Add a gate. Oops, a gate would be nice. I don't know. I'm going to assume that this is needed. That looks like a transformer. I don't know. We're going to put it here. Barriers. Gate. Let's turn this around so I can actually see. That'll
Now,
work.
Bernie takes safety very seriously at his zoos, so we should probably make sure those tigers can't jump out of their habitat, don't you think? The way we'll do it is by changing the height of the habitat's barrier. Okay then, you should start by double-clicking the habitat barrier, which will take you into barrier editing mode. Great. Now highlight the entire perimeter of the habitat. You can do that by clicking and dragging the barrier selection tool.
There we go. Just keep on moving it around the perimeter here.
Now you've got all of the perimeter selected, you can increase the height of it by clicking and dragging the barrier height tool upwards. You'll want to make sure it reaches a height of at least 3.7 meters.
I'll go... Can I get it right on 4? There we go.
Now that the habitat is in place, don't forget to put down a donation box near to your viewing areas. We need every dollar we can get. Especially as these tigers aren't exactly eating instant noodles for lunch. Okay, that's the habitat boundary complete, the habitat gate's in place, and most importantly, the tigers won't be able to jump out of it anymore. I think it's time we adopted those tigers.
What do you mean anymore? Were they able to before? Alright, let's get the tigers. So, we're just going to adopt and send. And the same thing, adopt and send.
Whilst our trusty caretakers collect and deliver the tigers, let's take a look at preparing the habitat for their arrival. We'll start with the basics. Add a suitable feeding station for them.
Alright, I'm going to put this near this large window here. I think that's fine.
This time, instead of adding a water bowl, let's try something different. Some animals need a pool in their habitat so they can go for a swim, but they can also use it to drink from. All you have to do is make sure the banks of the pool have a gentle slope so they can easily get a nice, refreshing drink. There's already a pool excavated, but you still need to fill it with water. You should do that by going into Terrain and selecting the water tool. Yes, that'll do nicely. Of course, just like the warthogs and ostriches, these tigers will also need some enrichment. Why don't you add some suitable toy and food enrichment items into their habitat?
Okay, habitat. So they do all. Okay, so she's just putting them out there for us. Let's put kind of viewing area there. And a viewing area. Let's hold down the Z button again. There.
Okay, it's really starting to take shape. Now, the tigers will need a shelter in their habitat so they can hide from the guests, or more likely, the bad weather. Although, given that we're in England, you might want to think of that just as normal weather. Go on, add a shelter to their habitat. You can either build one from various suitable bits and bobs, or if you like, just pop down the blueprint that I've already built for you.
Don't really like her window placement, but I think this will be fine. Let's actually rotate it a little bit this way. Don't really need to agonize it over that much. Okay. Hopefully. That's fine. Did you not like that? Can I click it and move it? Because it was in the wall, so maybe she didn't like that. Increase hard shelter welfare, terrain welfare at 100%. Well, let's move it again. And this time, let's just put it out. Just out and about, right around. Sure. Right in the center now. Don't you like it?
Oh,
There.
poor Dabs. I'm sure it can't have escaped your attention that the tigers look a bit miffed. That's because they aren't too keen on the type of terrain in their habitat. Select a tiger and bring up its information panel. Rightio, click on the Terrain tab. That way you can view the terrain information and see how they feel about the different types of terrain. That'll tell you what the tigers need more of or less of in this habitat. Okay then, open the Terrain Editing tool, select Painting, and give them some more soil. Yes, that should help with the habitat part of their welfare.
Okay, so I don't know if the arrow needs to be in the middle, but let's see what happens as we move along. Okay, so that moved up. Let's add a little bit of this light soil too. I don't know if it makes a difference. Apparently it does. Okay, so I'm removing some grass, so the grass is supposed to be going in this direction, so apparently that's a good thing. So we got to get rid of some of this short grass. No, I need to add short grass. There.
They say that good fences make good neighbors. I guess that's doubly true when one of the neighbors is a Bengal tiger. Still, those tigers look so happy that I doubt they'd leave, even if you did poke a hole in their fence. Oh, but for heaven's sake, don't test that theory.
Right, let's head over to the Indian peafowls. I've been told that we need to improve their social welfare. Now then, just find one of the peafowls and select them to open their information panel. Then we can have a good gander at how they're doing. Although technically, I suppose gandering would just be for geese. Expand their social welfare and we can get a bit more detail. Now, they've clearly got plenty of space and they're not stressed, but it looks like their social group isn't quite right. So let's find out more. Click on the Social tab at the top of their information panel to see what's wrong. Right, as you can see, the peafowls need their population to be larger. To solve this little problem, you'll need to adopt 3 more female peafowls. Off you pop to the animal market then.
Okay. And we're going to do the exact same thing. We're just going to buy, I guess we'll start with the good one. Send it to the zoo. Adopt you, send you to the zoo. It doesn't matter where you click. I don't think they're going to put it in that spot anyway. Send it to the zoo.
Good work on those peafowls. I expect they'll be delivered soon. But sadly, it sounds like our snow leopard is a bit grumpy. Let's head over there and see what's wrong with her.
Alrighty.
Just like people, animals can suffer from stress if things aren't quite right. You know, like when you see someone put in the milk before the tea bag. In the case of these snow leopards, they're a bit stressed by their lack of privacy. You can lower their stress levels by swapping out the normal glass barrier by their cave for one-way glass. It's not a cheap option, but I think they're worth the expense, don't you? This will give the snow leopards somewhere to go when they want to get away from the prying eyes of the guests.
There we go. Well, the temperature's bad though. Okay, barrier, choose one-way glass.
Of course, when an animal isn't in its natural biome, it's probably going to be too hot or too cold. Unsurprisingly for the snow leopards, it's too hot. Even with the terrible British weather. You should help cool it down by adding some coolers to their habitat. But let's start by opening up the temperature heat map and having a look-see at the temperature in the leopard's habitat.
Alright, so the heat map's down here, temperatures up here. You can choose different objects like, I don't know what they are, but I'm sure we'll find out.
As you can see, we already have one cooler in there. Let's pop some more down and get as much of the habitat as chilly as we can. Luckily for us, this habitat already has power, but you'll need to make sure of that in the future. Just so you know, if any part of a habitat is powered, then the whole habitat will be powered.
Alright, habitat, coolers, and heaters. So I'll make a couple of these. I think the cool will extend out. So we'll put it where the train is. I don't know if we want people walking past all this cool. And I guess back here.
You can find heat maps for all sorts of helpful things, so do be sure to explore them and make good use of them. It'll take a little while for the temperature to adjust once you've added coolers or heaters, but now we've got the coolers in, we can address the leopard's terrain welfare.
Okay.
You see, what the
We'll turn the
leopards
heat
really
map
want
off.
in here is snow and rock, so let's make that happen.
Oh, so now we need to add terrain. You want snow, so apparently the cooler doesn't make snow. It's your painting that does. Alright, there's the snow. Let's go with rock up on this little hill up here. And let's make a little smooth rock up here. And maybe a little bit here.
Now then, all of that should give you a pretty good understanding of how to make animals happy. So I'd like you to go and check on all the other animals in the zoo and fix up any issues with their habitats. That'll increase the average welfare of the animals across the whole zoo. And that average welfare is a very important statistic. Now, to quickly see how all your animals are doing in the zoo, you should go into Zoo Management and then into the Animals section.
Okay, so click the zoo, click the animals.
As you can see, this list shows you the animals' overall welfare. So if something's amiss, then you can quickly pop over to them using the Locate button. Right, I'm off for a cuppa while you make sure all the animals are well looked after.
Okay, so if we're looking at the tortoises, they are Aldabara. I believe that's how you pronounce it, tortoise. It looks like they're missing enrichment. So species food enrichment, species toy enrichment. Now, let's open this up. Habitat. Enrichment items. Now, they give you all of these choices. Not all of these are accepted by each animal. So, in order to figure that out, go to your Zoopedia, look at the Aldabara giant tortoise because it's already selected for you, and if you go to research and status, it will tell you some proper enrichments to put in there. So they need maybe an herb scent marker, a small ball, and a couple of these things. So let's go with a dog ball, the fruit spike tree. I don't know if that's too much stuff, but habitat. Let's go with food enrichment, and they wanted the dog ball. So try to put it near your guests. Fruit spike tree, let's put that over on this other side. I don't know if they'll be able to get past that. I don't know, but it really doesn't matter right now. Toys. This herb scent marker was on there. Okay, so let's have a look-see here. Apparently they're very happy. Hopefully that'll improve. So let's move on to the next animal. Alright, so now we're down here to zebras. So you just click this and it'll automatically take you to them. Looks like they're eating, but again, the Zoopedia, we need species food enrichment and species toy enrichment. Again, go to your Zoopedia, look at your research. Of course, you can all read this stuff later if you want to learn more about them. Let's go with a grab ball and a hanging grazer feeder. Grab ball. Put it there. Let's change hanging grazer. And let's just rotate it a little bit, or a lot of it. There we go. And we'll put it over here. Alright, are you guys happier now? Apparently the zebras are playing with the ball already. So, alright. Another food enrichment, maybe? What else would they like? Go back to the research status. Food enrichment, a grazing ball feeder or a small barrel feeder? Let's look at the small barrel, maybe. I don't know, let's put it there. And apparently it'll move around the base, or habitat, I should call it. Let's go back and find us a zebra. Okay, they're happy. Now, I think the last ones might be giraffes. There we go. Again, we need species food enrichment and species toy enrichment. Let's go to his Zoopedia. Or her. I didn't really look. A high grazer feeder and a sprinkler. We'll find out what this is, I'm sure, in another episode. Habitat high, suspended high. I don't see a difference between any others. It's probably appropriate for a giraffe. Oh, I forgot already what. Sprinkler. It's a toy, I believe. Sprinkler. Wow. Okay, apparently it's a heat map as well. Alright, is everybody happy? Everyone's pretty... Oh, what's going on with dehydrated? Don't like your water? Well, how do I send a keeper to you? Well, let's just give you another... Well, now it's finally drinking. Maybe. Oh, come on, drink. Oh, there's keeper. Okay, apparently I double-clicked him. It's still not drinking. I don't know why it's not drinking. Let's do something. And just put another one right there. I don't know. I'm just spending money, throwing money at it. You also want a toy. I don't know. I guess while we're at it, let's give them a toy. I gotta figure out what kind of toys they like. Yeah, sure, a cardboard box. Oh, there it is. Apparently, a cardboard box costs $100. Okay, I don't know what's up with my keepers here.
Not bad. Not
Okay.
bad at all. I think it's fair to say that you've passed the first part of your training with flying colours. There's still lots more to learn, but we'll have to head to another one of Bernie's zoos for that. If you want to grab your passport, we'll head off, shall we?
Okay, so I don't know why it wasn't drinking. I don't think I actually fixed that, although I did give it plenty of water.
Sounds like you got the whole zoo purring away nicely. Well, purring, grunting, screaming, booming. All the appropriate noises. I guess I was right to hire you, huh? Don't tell her I told you, but Nancy wasn't sure you'd even last the morning. So, we're happy this is working out. And Nancy owes me a Foxy coffee. As strange as it seems, considering we just met, when I look at you, I feel like you're the child I never had. After the one I did have, obviously. But you see, zookeeping's not for my daughter. Don't get me wrong. Emma absolutely loves animals, but she set her sights somewhat higher. Wants to save the entire planet. I'll just settle for saving a couple of species. Oh, and maybe having a type of frog named after me.
Okay, I don't know if that's the end of the story. But that's it. Again, I don't know if I fixed the Bengal tiger. I don't see any keepers feeding that thing. But apparently it wanted another toy, and that got us high enough on the scale that we needed to move up. All right. So with that said, let's save it. I'm just going to save it as one. Save it, and we'll move on. So with that said, as always, really, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will talk to you next time. See you later. Bye-bye.